Hello and welcome to Senior Living, the program on topics of interest for seniors and for the community at large. I am Lynn Brennan, your host, and our program today is The Law of the Land. Our very special guest is Officer Jason Helmuth. He's Continuing Education and Community Services Officer for the Lincoln Police Department with 24 years of service. Welcome, Officer Helmuth.
Thank you, Lynn. I appreciate it.
Glad that you're here. In our discussion today of law enforcement, it is helpful to look at some history. In the mid-1800s, three things: the Industrial Revolution, the creation of large cities, and the abolishment of slavery set the stage, made it necessary for the creation of formal police departments in America. They were fashioned after the London Metropolitan Police for crime prevention by patrol, based on a military framework and with local authority. Does that fit the model, officer?
Well, in the beginning, yes, very much so. That is still very similar to what it is today. Our main goal is always community crime prevention by patrol. But there are so many things now that law enforcement has become that is beyond the original intent.
I understand. We're going to be talking about that.
That's right.
So for the enlightenment of the public, let's break this down. So we'd like to differentiate between the different arms of the law: sheriff, police, state patrol, and many others.
Yes, very much so.
Let's begin with the Sheriff's Department. What is their jurisdiction, or what do they do?
Sure. The Sheriff's Department is a county law enforcement agency. It's run by the county sheriff, who is an elected official, and his employees work for the county. Their job is patrol for traffic, criminal investigation, any civil service items like subpoenas and such as that. They also have any type of maybe local community service to various smaller cities within the county.
Oh, those who do not have a police department.
Correct.
Like where I'm
Yes.
from, like Ponca.
Right. They would have then a contract with that small town or city to spend a certain amount of time in those areas. And then there is, like I said, they have a varied amount of duties within there. They have virtually the same thing we have for the Lincoln Police Department.
But they're the only ones who can serve subpoenas or eviction papers?
Correct. Yes, they are the only ones who have civil service power. And that is by state law.
Okay. But if they see something happening, they can intervene?
Of course, yes. Yeah, they are deputy sheriffs for their county. They have countywide jurisdiction. If any crime occurs in front of their presence, they have an obligation to act just like I would.
Okay, very interesting. So, and now to the police department, same question. Fill us in on the LPD.
Sure. The Lincoln Police Department is responsible for any criminal enforcement, any traffic enforcement, any public safety concerns that occur within the city limits of Lincoln, or perhaps in city property that would be say out of the city limits. There are a couple of parks that are not technically in the city limits, but they are city parks, and thusly the city's responsibility to maintain, or in this case for our agency, to enforce laws at. We have a variety of different things that we have to maintain, just like the county. The county has SROs, or school resource officers, that they have to have cover the county high schools like Waverly or Norris. And we have our own SROs to cover the middle schools, and the high schools. So
And
roughly about 14.
14, okay. And they are full-time in the schools.
Yes, they are. Monday through Friday. They have a Monday through Friday schedule that matches the schools.
And they're not police officers per se.
Oh no, they are. They're
Oh.
they're fully commissioned police officers that are employed by the city police department, and they are just their assignment is their respective school.
Oh, okay. So some of the duties of the police, accidents or
Yeah, we have accident investigation, basic criminal investigation, or even more intense criminal investigation. We would normal life or a normal day for a patrol officer would be taking calls for service, meaning somebody broke into their car, they're missing their whatever. So basically, call for service taking. We do a lot of often mediating disputes and problems and disturbances. So you may do that. Oftentimes, you may have something that is a more severe crime. And if that's the case, we can also ask some of our specialized units to come and assist.
and welfare checks.
We get those not as much now, but we still, welfare check is a common call for service for us. And basically, it's to check on the well-being of a person who might have been observed by another person to be having a problem.
And traffic.
Traffic is a daily thing that all officers are responsible for. If you're in patrol duty, you should be doing your call take, answering your calls for service, but in the time between those calls for service, you should be doing traffic enforcement as much as possible.
And parking, not all the time, but some of the time.
Parking is, any parking violation is often managed by our public service officers, our PSOs. And they are responsible. There's one for each geographical team, and they're responsible Monday through Friday for a large portion of the parking calls. But calls then can be assigned to street officers on weekends, or if the call itself is more pressing, or perhaps somebody has somebody parked blocking their drive and they need out, that often will get assigned to a street officer if there is no public service officer available.
And so alarms, that's a big one.
That one is a big one.
False alarms.
Mostly false. This is good. Not for the people that are having them, obviously. But we have a lot of alarm calls that we go to. Often those can be anything from a business alarm to a panic alarm.
And you do community education. That's
Community, yes. That's mine.
Yeah.
Community education is a big part of the Lincoln Police Department. We have a neighborhood watch as a program here within the city. I head that up. And we also have numerous, we're starting, coming up here in this month, we're going to be doing neighborhood or community roundtables, and we'll be having the chief will actually be conducting a lot of these. So we'll be able to have a lot of question and answer, some briefings on what's going on new at the police department and stuff like that.
And is that held in community centers, or how does that
Well,
work?
I think right now we're going to start with Zoom, and that way everybody can have a chance to see it as much as possible.
Interesting.
And if we do, we will probably try to take it to various different parts of the city, but it's easier right now for us to use Zoom. I guess COVID was good for something.
So, the public will be notified of
this? Yes. There will be briefings and press releases when these are coming out.
Oh,
yes.
good. That's interesting. Well, keeps you busy.
It does. If there isn't one, a lot of the neighborhood and public education that I do could be to a neighborhood watch group, or it could be just to various other groups that want to learn more about what police do. I just came back from a 3-day recruiting trip to Chadron State College. So that kind of falls a little bit. We have our own recruiting officer, but we need to spread the wealth a little bit occasionally.
All right. So in general, policemen are all safety issues.
Yes. That is the main core charge for police officers, is to provide public safety.
So what are some of the other branches of law enforcement?
Well,
Fish and game?
Yeah, there's quite a few, actually.
Yeah.
There's Nebraska State Patrol, and their jurisdiction is a statewide enforcement of laws and traffic. They are, a lot of times people see the State Patrol on the interstate system,
Yes.
but they can also be called to do criminal investigations in smaller communities throughout the state that may not have their own police department, and maybe the sheriff's department is not equipped or is not comfortable handling a larger criminal investigation. That happens.
Interesting.
So the State Patrol is statewide authority. There is the Fish and Game, or Game and Parks law enforcement branch. They are responsible for all the fishing and the game rules, hunting and such throughout the state. They are special state deputies, so they have jurisdiction throughout the entire state. And though they may have certain areas of the state where they work, they have that jurisdiction to be anywhere in the state.
And that's interesting. There are a couple of TV programs now
Yes.
that are fun to watch and interesting.
Yeah. It's different. It's a different end of law enforcement because it is more specialized, and
It is.
I mean, it is a more tight area where you don't have to worry about maybe some of the other stuff. But they say they see somebody who's driving recklessly or anything like that, they have the same authority as I do to make that arrest or ticket.
And there are campus police?
There is UNL.
We're a university town.
Yep. UNL has their own police department, and that also translates to the other campuses within the state UNL system, like Kearney, Omaha, stuff like that. So they have their own police departments. And generally, they are limited to their campus, but they are all special state deputies. So they have statewide authority. So like here in Lincoln, UNLPD has technically statewide authority, but they generally try to limit their activities to the campus or in the immediate downtown area around their campus.
They have a different type of car?
They do. Well, yes and no. I mean, they have most of their cars are all black SUVs, but there are some that may still be white.
Then there's the railroad, Burlington.
Burlington Northern Police have a very interesting area of coverage. There's 5 assigned to this region, meaning they could go anywhere, I believe, into South Dakota, down into Iowa, us. They have like 3 or 4 states that they have to cover.
Wow, interesting. Veterans Police.
The Veterans Affairs Department does have the Veterans Police Department on the Veterans Affairs campus. They are basically federal police officers, but their goal and their charge is the campus itself for the Veterans Affairs.
Wow, and there's another Federal Protection Police.
Yes, the Federal Protective Police, which is it is basically they're responsible for federal facilities and the people within the facilities. So they are kind of they're more concerned about damage, and they're checking buildings and stuff like that, but they are still responsible for people that are in there, and they are police officers.
There's one more. Airport.
Yes, the Lincoln Airport Police. And they are actually employed and commissioned as law enforcement officers for the Airport Authority. The Airport Authority, being a political entity, can choose to have their own police department, but it is limited to the airport proper and the airport property. Anywhere over in, I believe it would be east of Northwest 48th into what we call Air Park is kind of their owned property by the airport. And then, of course, the airport itself and the runways and such on it.
So each city has an option of whether to have separate airport police.
They do. Most, especially smaller cities, may have some of their own law enforcement agencies doing the police services for such a place. But at least here in Lincoln and in Omaha, they have a separate police department for that.
That's great. This is so much helpful information.
There's a lot.
And here, this is police in general, but today here we are talking about the Lincoln Police Department, Lincoln, Nebraska.
Correct.
So let's talk about the Canine program, my favorite.
Well, what do you want to know?
Everyone is interested in them, and what are they, and what do they do? Let's talk about what they are. They're from Belgium.
Well, we actually get our dogs from a variety of locations, but generally our breed type is a Belgian Malinois German Shepherd mix for most of them. And the reason is that we have done that is it's a very popular patrol animal at this point in time, and it's one that seems to have a very high drive to do things. And they're very intelligent, and they're very responsive to their respective trainers.
I did look some things up. They're friendly, alert, hardworking, active, confident, protective, watchful. They're up to like 66 pounds.
Sometimes a little bigger. Depends on, especially if they're mixed with a German Shepherd, they may be just a hair over 60.
And maybe 2 feet tall.
Yeah.
They can run 30 miles an hour.
They're very fast,
Wow.
trust me.
I believe you brought us some photos.
Yes,
and,
yes, I did.
These are, and not only are they all of what we just mentioned, but these dogs are beautiful, wonderful.
They are very beautiful, and they're very single-minded. We try to keep them very much so focused on the job. Many times in the past there were the idea behind police animals, police dogs, was to make them part of your family. Well, these are very focused on the job itself. So they often recognize us in uniform. They're able to distinguish officers in uniform versus maybe somebody who isn't.
Right.
And that makes it a little bit better for us.
So you don't get attacked.
Well, you hope so,
See, well, there are, what, 5 in Lincoln?
We have 5 in Lincoln. 4 of them are multi-use dogs, meaning they basically serve multiple purposes. 4 of them are narcotics trained to search for drugs. They also are handler protection. So if for some reason the handler is being hurt or attacked, they have a belt button on their belt that they can release the back door of their squad car to allow the animal out to help them.
Wow.
Then they also are meant for tracking. They can do a variety of different tracking, which would either be scent track, air track, stuff like that.
Yes, probably people don't realize that. Explain about scent tracking.
Well, there's scent tracking when a person runs through the field. Not only can you say it's early morning, you can see that they've had footprints. Well, that's disturbance tracking for the dog. The dog can tell the difference between a clean area, so to speak, that doesn't have a footprint, and versus, there's been a disturbance here, and they can follow that disturbance. And then scent tracking, just like in TV where they wave a piece of clothing underneath somebody's, follow that scent. Well, that isn't so much what our dogs do. They actually smell the sweat, the different odors that humans emit when you're running. You're sweating, you're very concerned. for lack of better.
Right.
And so
Right.
you're emitting a lot of human scent, and they are able to recognize that and follow that
That's great.
through the air sometimes.
Yeah.
You'll see the dogs stop and stick their head in the air and kind of sniff the air. What they're doing is air scenting.
And one dog is for bomb.
Yes, we have one that is responsible for bomb detection or gunpowder detection. He is trained to recognize the scents of various different explosives like C4, other gunpowder-based explosives, TNT, things like that. And he also can track, do the track and handler protection.
And they stay with their handler.
They do. The canines get a take-home car from our agency, take-home usually SUV, and because they need to respond at any given point in time. If they're off and we need a canine and nobody's available, well, somebody's going to be coming in. We'll call whoever is not, who's ever free. And they will have to maybe respond in the middle of the night or on their day off or something like that. They also get to keep their dog at home with them. The city will pay for a kennel, pay for a fence,
Right.
and usually to make sure that and food and medical care for the animal as well.
And then how long does the dog typically work? How many years or?
It kind of depends on the dog, but
Right.
generally we seem to see anywhere from about 8 years on average, sometimes 9, sometimes 10, and then perhaps an injury might cut their service short.
And they retire with their trainer, owner.
Generally, yes.
Handler.
Yes, the handler generally gets the first shot at being able to purchase their dog. The city is responsible to allow them to purchase the dog for $1, I think.
Oh,
is what we
I was
do.
going to say how much.
Yeah, no, it's usually $1, and because they are keyed to that handler, and
That's
they
ideal.
are, that's dad or mom.
Exactly. And they, I know these are expensive dogs.
They can be. They can be very much so.
I remember in Southern Cal a lady wanting to purchase, and it was like $16,000 or something.
It gets a little pricey. We actually have a donation fund.
That's what I mean,
we have a
donated.
donation fund that pays for a lot of the purchase of dogs. And the person who usually donates the money sometimes gets the option of naming the dog, or at least a base name of the dog.
Do you know some of the names of your dogs?
We have Kobe. And I believe Kobe's the bomb dog, and that's the one I often see a lot of because of my specialties in crime scene. But the others, oh gosh, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
Well, I'm sure they're all good.
They're very effective.
And I know they're very well loved. And I know, and the military use dogs quite a lot too.
A lot of the times the military uses dogs, but it's for a different purpose.
Right.
And often different training. I mean, the bomb
Yeah.
dogs might be similar training, but the other reason that military has dogs is obviously they have a different
Right.
intent.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, than we do.
But they're wonderful nevertheless.
Oh, yes.
So that's great. We could talk about them all day, but
Easily.
let's talk about 911, fire, police.
Right.
How does it work?
Well, imagine a phone call to 911. It goes to what we call call takers. And there could be up to 5 or 6, sometimes call takers. They're in the center of the room. And they are answering just the phone call to 911, what's your emergency? And they'll tell whoever has their emergency, tells what the emergency is, and then they type it out onto a computer screen. And if it's a call for law enforcement, it gets sent to one of the law enforcement dispatchers. If it's a call for fire or medical, it gets sent to the fire or medical dispatch. And then if it's something maybe even from a call, we also end up managing a lot of the rural fire departments' radio systems, and the sheriff's department, and the police department, and
gosh.
the fire department. So we're very kind of the 911 center is kind of the all-encompassing communications hub for the county.
Well, and that's the amazing thing about it. These dispatchers are going to have to determine in a few seconds
Very true.
what's happening, what is needed. And you said there are, what, 5
Well,
usually on duty?
It varies. You could have up to 3 law enforcement dispatchers because there are 3 base channels. 2 normally, and then we can expand to a 3rd one. Fire could have 2 people on it, maybe up to 3. So you could have anywhere from 9 to 14 people in one room working, just call take and dispatch. We have a information channel which are responsible for providing, like, say, license plate information, driver's history information, and stuff like that. And there's usually 2 of those.
So they, you receive a call and say, my house is on fire. So then they know, push the button to the fire
Then
department.
they send it off to the fire dispatch. The dispatcher who's taking the call will still ask a bunch of questions to try and ascertain more information for whoever's getting the call, whether it be fire or dispatch or law enforcement. Now, often fire, if there's a house fire, law enforcement will be dispatched with that.
Doesn't
and
have
same
to
thing,
be
no,
depending on how big the fire. No.
Well, even any house fire or any active fire will probably have law enforcement dispatched with it, along with fire. But there are times like maybe a medical request or a person's feeling faint.
Right.
Obviously not a legal concern, but more a medical concern.
But do police sometimes do first aid?
We are all trained in basic first aid, stopping bleeding, CPR. We have AEDs in all of our marked cruisers. So there is always something that we can do if we are the first people on scene.
That's great. Okay, so this has all been such great information, and these men and women in the police, they risk their lives every day of the week, and so we are so grateful for them, and we thank you for your 24 years of service.
Yes, thank you.
It's
been fast. It's been fast.
I know, the last 20 years went like that.
Yes, exactly.
So culturally, we are going through changes, but just very, very briefly, why, what are the reasons that people want to be a policeman?
Well, one, I think it's the first thing you actually get to be giving back to your community. You get to serve your community, and helping others is always a big thing. I got into the job not because of what some other people would think, family draw or anything like that. I simply wanted to help people, and this was the most direct route I could do it.
Well, that's wonderful, and I'm so glad to hear that. This has all been a great information, a great program. We thank you for your contribution.
Well, thank you.
And thank you for watching Senior Living. Join us again next time for another important topic of interest. And until we meet again, this is Lynn Brennan saying goodbye for now. Support your law enforcement, and God bless.
Thank you.
Whether you are physically active, playing pickleball or golf, or have trouble with daily activities, Trishulo is thoughtfully crafted with your needs in mind. Our unique formula can help provide relief when you need it most. Apply a small amount to your hands, knees, neck, shoulders, or any other areas of discomfort. Gently rub in a circular motion until thoroughly dissolved. There are no artificial chemicals, just natural plant compound to nourish your body. Endorsed by athletes, loved by all, there is nothing like Trishulo Organics. Don't let pain control your life. Take action today.
I heard that ugly 6-letter word, cancer, and I immediately felt lost.
Our team of women's cancer specialists help thousands of women like Naomi navigate and beat cancer.
I didn't want to be treated like a cancer patient, but like a human.
Our advanced imaging, targeted radiation, and minimally invasive surgeries offer positive outcomes that are beating national cancer survival rates.
I've reclaimed the most beautiful 4-letter word, life, because I had City of Hope on my side.